Good Tuesday afternoon or evening to you guys. Welcome to the Seth Joyner Show. Super Bowl 56 is in the books. And boy, what a game it was. A lot going on. I know that I told you guys that we were going to do a Talk to Him Tuesday. I was taking all your questions. You guys seen the promo. But I got a special treat for you guys tonight. I've got a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, and a Hall of Famer joining me tonight to break it all down. But before we get there, there's a lot of things going on in the world of football. A lot of questions, a lot of commentary as the fiscal year for the NFL has come to a close. Things will open back up with the free agency period starting March 16th, and we do it all over again. A lot being said about Jalen Hurts and a possible trade with draft picks and him going to the Seattle Seahawks for Russell Wilson. Not a scenario that I enjoy. You know, the Eagles need help across the board, and just a quarterback is not going to help them, be competitive for another Super Bowl. It's just not going to happen. You know, you need an edge rusher. You need some depth at defensive tackle. You definitely need two linebackers, that at least one of them that can be a playmaker. You need a safety. You need another cornerback on the other side. Let's jump over to the offensive side of the ball. You need a little more offensive line depth. You need another wide receiver. So even if you go and you get one of these upper tier quarterbacks and you bring them in, that's not going to help you get to a Super Bowl. You're just going to have a good quarterback on a bad team, because they don't have enough talent. The Eagles have 11 draft picks, 3 in the first 20 picks, 19 picks, I should say, but 11 total in this draft. This is how you build a football team. Not a big fan of how the Rams built theirs, but we'll get to that in a minute. To help me break it all down is my good friend. Competed against him, played a lot of golf with him. Good buddy of mine. You guys know him. Played for the Oakland Raiders, the Kansas City Chiefs, and if I miss somebody, forgive me. Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, Marcus Allen. Cuddy, how you doing, my man?
Great. Hey, Seth, I was just with Warren Moon, and he didn't appreciate that blindside hit. He said, just want to get that out there. He's still bothered by it.
Next time you see Warren, tell him, everybody's got a job to do, man. He had a job to do, and I had a job to do. Ain't nothing personal.
Oh, I know that. How you doing? You doing well?
I'm great, man. I am great. Life is good. I'm glad to, kind of be home for a little while. It's been a long season.
Yeah.
Get to hang out with Kendra and, kind of relax, go on some vacations and wind it down, get my golf game back in shape. And, but, it's been a heck of a year, man.
Yes, it has. And it concluded yesterday. And I think a game that, when you look at all the playoff games, really every game came down to the wire, and so did that one. That was really the beauty, I think, of the playoffs, and how it had everyone at the edge of their seats. And I predicted they would go into overtime, and unfortunately, they got close. But it was a big win for the Rams, of course, in Los Angeles. You mentioned something earlier about how they built their team. Yeah, they went out and they were. I guess they saw their window closing, and they went out and got people that were going to help them win immediately, right away, and it worked.
Well, the thing that scares me is the message that it sends to the rest of the league. I mean, we've seen the NFL nix, deals where players are moving and they didn't feel it was advantageous to the league to do that. We've seen it in the NFL where deals have been nixed by the league. I'm not so sure that that's the right way to go about building a team, for one. And second of all, when LeBron started jumping all over the place, people can think what they want about LeBron. I'm a fan because so many people hate him. In my opinion, he made one mistake, and that was the decision. Other than that, the guy has just been, a stellar athlete in this world and this time of athletes doing dumb and stupid things. The guy is just a stand-up dude. And if he ain't, he's masterful at hiding it from the rest of the world. Okay? Let me put it to you like that. Okay? But everybody cried when he left Cleveland and he went to Miami. And then he jumped from Miami and went back to Cleveland. And then he went from Cleveland and went to LA. And everybody just cried about that. But nobody's talking about what the Rams did. The Rams essentially did the same exact thing, Marcus.
The NFL version of the transfer portal.
No doubt about it.
Guys going everywhere, man.
The only guy on that roster Sunday, that was, top tier guy that was, that was just doing it all was Cooper Kupp. And Aaron Donald. Listen, they traded for Jalen Ramsey. They traded, and I'm thinking now they might be thinking twice about that trade the way he played on Sunday. They figured out that Jared Goff wasn't going to be able to get him over the hump, so they made a huge trade, for Matthew Stafford. OBJ, they picked up because, he was floundering out there. At some point, last year, early in the year, they had Deshaun Jackson on the roster. They traded for Von Miller late in the year. But nobody's talking about how they bought a Super Bowl championship.
You got to give them credit. Obviously that was their objective. Now the big concern is whether they can keep those guys because of the salary cap and so forth. But I think I'm just guessing that they felt like the window was small. They had and the opportunity was the window was closing rather, and so they wanted to seize the opportunity. You can't fault them, Now whether they can sustain that, where they have to, release some guys next year in order to come back to reality, I don't know, but you got to give them credit. They did a masterful job of putting together a team that can win right now, and really that's the only thing that matters is today and not tomorrow. So I'm sure that
you can look at it that way, but listen, they don't have another first round draft pick until 2024. They've got the championship now, but you lived in LA. You're from California. Good and well. If they start stinking again, nobody driving out to that stadium, man.
No, there's too many things to do in the city of Los Angeles.
That's what I'm talking about.
The weather's too nice, but I don't see it going away anytime soon unless there's some retirements that affect that team. They still have Robert Woods is going to come back and be a factor next year because he was great before he got hurt. He's a very important cog on that team, and I think they have they still have young players. Aaron Donald, I don't think there were whispers of retirement. Maybe somebody just thought it was sort of a sports romantic thing to say somebody, steps, away from the game. And at the moment when they win a championship and just give it all up, I don't think that's going to happen. He has too much football left.
Mm-hmm.
Von Miller really doesn't, he can play a couple more years. He's an edge rusher. That's really all he has to do. They still have personnel that, in my opinion, is relatively young. It's not really old, other than the quarterback. And Cam Akers is obviously, he was hurt, came back quickly. And I think he'll get better and better next year. So, it's still, they're still the team to beat. Especially the way they played at the end of the season and made the plays when they had to.
But my thing is, how do you sustain it? Because they're so far over the cap right now, and I realize the cap is going to go up exponentially the next 2 years. I'm just trying to figure out, somewhere down the road, those, it has to come full circle at some point. You have the head coach rumors of the head coach saying that if he wins, he may take some time off. Maybe he's looking from within and saying to himself, "Hey, maybe,
Yeah, this is a good time to get out.
Yeah, yeah. We mortgaged this franchise, and they're probably not going to be worth a damn for the next 10 years. But we got a Super Bowl championship this year, and I'm going to bow out. I mean, you got a lot of high priced dollars, a lot of high priced guys on that football team, Marcus. A lot.
Yeah.
You got some guys falling off, but you got some guys, their contracts are going to come up. With the year that Cooper Kupp had, what are you going to do with him? You got to pay him sooner or later.
What's the alternative? Don't spend any money and just rely on the draft or just free agents that certainly aren't the quality of the guys that they got. You had to improve in order to beat. Tampa was the team to beat last year, right? So that you got to get better, or if you don't, you're going backwards. You're not even staying the same. You're actually going backwards because everybody's improving, trying to beat the eventual champion. So you can't stay status quo. So I think I think they did the right thing. And again, I mean, it's going to take some GM genius to figure it out and try to keep those guys together for as long as possible. And maybe somebody will take a little less money. I don't know. Maybe, just to win another championship, or, it's not, I'm not talking about turning, tens of millions away, but certainly, guys may say, okay, listen here, I'm at the end of my career, but I know I can play more. I'll take a little less just to be here. You never know. I mean, I'm sure all that's going to be on the table and all that's going to be addressed. They probably started talking already. you don't get any time to enjoy, right? It's all business, man. So they're probably probably running the numbers right now.
Well, let me throw this at you just because the broadcast team on Sunday night, they was espousing this. A lot of people have been talking about it on social media. Aaron Donald, the best defensive player ever. And I was like, whoa. Pump your brakes, okay? I'm like, the further we get away from past generations, the more we forget. I'm like, have you forgotten Reggie White? Have you forgotten Lawrence Taylor? Have you forgotten these guys? Now, listen, trust me, Aaron Donald's great. The Watt brothers are great in their own right. But those guys don't hold a candle. I'm sorry. They don't hold a candle to a guy like Reggie White and a guy like Lawrence Taylor. They just don't. They're playing in a different game. That's played differently. Offensive linemen aren't as technically sound as they used to be.
No.
These guys, they don't play a full game. It blows my mind that, that some of these media people feel this way. And then it disturbs me because how do you make the comparison? How do you compare a Marcus Allen to an Ezekiel Elliott today? You can't make those comparisons because they're playing two different NFLs.
Yes, that's true. I mean, especially when you talk about the tackle area, Mean Joe Green wasn't a slouch. You know what I mean? But he played a different game, different time. He wasn't so much the pass rusher. And I'm sure if they, if it was in this particular league, I don't think, they could have blocked Mean Joe Green coming off the ball as much as they passed, but he was being double teamed with the guard and center. And I mean, constantly. And obviously the Steelers wouldn't have as many championships if it wasn't for him. So you're right. It's almost impossible to compare, but that's just today's, it's like we need something sensational to talk about. It's just like we need, otherwise maybe people wouldn't listen. So let's throw this out there. Listen here. He's a great player for sure, dude. But
how do you get caught up in that hyperbole in the moment? You can't be objective. You can't be objective about what the truth really is, man. Come on.
Pretty simple, man. Pretty simple. These people do it all the time. Come on. Look at headlines all the time, man. It's like, the best ever, greatest I've ever seen. I mean, it's like, come on, seriously, dude. And this is why there are so many, even when I look back, there were so many great players that are not in the Hall of Fame because the game, obviously, they didn't get the amount of attention that they get today. They didn't have social media. The game was completely different. I mean, that's a real valid point here. That the game was different, right? I mean, you go from one era where guys were great receivers under bump and run down the entire field, right? And now you have guys where they get a 5-yard release. I mean, it's crazy, but this is what they say. This is the again the hyperbole that they use. I mean, it's like it's crazy. It's like, but I kind of ignore it. But I do believe he's a great player, and I knew he was going to be a problem throughout. And for that last play to be called, I think, and to isolate that guard or not, over that, over him was just. It was a bad play call, in my opinion. And if you go for 1 yard, I would have run it twice. I would have done something. They had the ball in the right person's hands, but I think you just can't put that guard in that position. You didn't put him in a position to succeed.
Well, since you brought it up, let's kind of jump into the game and how all of that played out, because I felt like from the second series on, the Cincinnati Bengals got out coached. Joe Burrow got hot for a little while, but when LA made their adjustment, they had no adjustment to the adjustment. Okay. And I thought that this thing right here was extremely critical. So on the second series, Cincinnati, the Rams got the ball, they punted, then Cincinnati got the ball, they punted. Then, Cincinnati has the ball at the 50-yard line. And here the data analytics kicks in because it's 4th and 1 at the 50. At the 50, the score is 0-0. We're still in the first quarter. And Zach Taylor makes the decision to go for it on 4th and 1 from the 50-yard line.
Because of what reason? Did you say analytics?
Oh yeah.
That yeah.
Oh yeah. Because that's the only logical reason that I could come up with, And when I tweeted about it in game, people on Twitter lost their damn minds because I'm like, you don't go for a 4th and 1 in that situation because you just stop the other team. You don't want to give them the ball at midfield. 1 first down there in scoring range.
Right.
They're in field goal range.
All about field position. That's all it is. I mean, make them go the distance. Don't give them a short field. And you're right. That's exactly what they did. I mean, I can understand if you're behind and the game is. I can understand being aggressive, right? But you also got to be smart. Now, if you're behind in that situation, and you need like they were early or like they were at the end of the game, then you must. But that early in the game, I mean, I know you're trying to send a signal that you're ready to play, but you got to be wise too. You know what I mean? And you're right. Make them go the distance. Make them go the entire field. Don't give them a short field. They gave them a short field, as you said, a couple plays, down the field, and then they're in scoring position, and that's not wise.
Well, the thing that kind of perplexed me about it, because when they didn't make it, you could see the look on Zach Taylor's face. He knew in that moment that he had messed up. So now,
coach.
Now you're in a situation where you just gave away 7 points, and at that point I tweeted, I said, those 7 points are going to come back to haunt them later in the game, because it wasn't guaranteed that if you pin them at the 20 or you pin them at the 15 or the 10, that they're going 95, 90, 80 yards to score a touchdown. It's more likely that they're not than that they are. But when you give them a short field and then you get OBJ lined up on a safety one-on-one, now all of a sudden you give away seven points. Yeah. And Sean McVay, consequently, there was another series in the second quarter where he was at midfield, same situation, 4th and 1, and he punted the ball. To me, those are major differences in the game. And it speaks to why I believe that the analytics in professional football play too much of a role in the decision making, because people think that these data analytics markers is something new. The computer printout you used to get when you played and the one that I got when I played, those are data analytics. They give you probabilities, they give you tendencies, they give you all of these things that you can use.
Yeah.
But a smart coach has got to say, okay, I'm going with my gut here. And my gut says it's 0-0. It's early in the game. This is an unnecessary risk. Punt the ball.
Seth, let's go back when the Rams lost the Super Bowl. Let's go back for a minute. Were there some poor decisions that Sean McVay made then?
You have to enlighten me because I can't remember. Obviously, you know what it is.
I just think overall, I think he certainly got outcoached. Again, his first Super Bowl. And I think that really served him well for his next Super Bowl, because obviously I think he coached differently. They had a chance. What I'm going to say is I think Zach Taylor will be, better served. He will understand because of this game more than any other game. There's certain things you must do. There's certain decisions that you must make. And when it comes to your defense playing well, field position is critical. You always make them go the long way and never give them a short path. And so I think, I really think you have to commend him for the job that he did to get his team there. I just think you're right. He made a poor decision, and I think he'll be better for it going forward.
Well, listen, it doesn't in there, because when you look at the defensive side of the ball, they were getting pressure. They were getting pressure on Matthew Stafford. For most of the game, they made an adjustment, to kind of quell that in the second half. You got OBJ goes down, and you got one receiver on the whole damn team. You can't figure out how to stop one guy.
Wait. Hey, listen here. You're absolutely right, Seth. I'm going like, if I'm the defense coordinator, listen here. OBJ's down? Oh, my goodness. You kidding me? All right. If anybody's going to beat us, it's going to be what, 89?
18.
Or 18, right? Who they threw several passes to him, and he didn't catch anything, right? Yeah. But my point was, okay, if not him, because we're going to leave him one-on-one, it's got to be 89, right? Jefferson really hadn't done much that game. So you have to stop Kupp. You have to. You got to double team him. And I just don't know. They just didn't do it. It was, defensively, that was sort of disappointing from the Bengals standpoint and stuff. I mean, you know who the great players are. The guy has all the accolades. He's been the number one receiver this year. And so you're going in, you say, okay, listen, everybody can beat us except this guy. You got to take that guy away. And they didn't do it.
It's almost like they didn't have a plan. I mean, it's one thing to realize, okay, we got OBJ over here and we got Cooper Kupp over here, and we can move Cooper Kupp anywhere we want to. We can put him outside. We can put him in the slot. We can put him over on the same side with OBJ. But it was almost like they had no say
hi.
What's up, dude? It was almost like they had no plan whatsoever. Okay.
What did Mike Tyson say?
Yeah. But still, come on, man. I mean, see, to me, you got 2 weeks to figure it out. You got 2 weeks to say, okay, if this guy gets hot, how are we going to deal with him? Okay. We can give a two high look. Whichever safety is away from him, we're going to drop him in the hole and rob him for any crossing routes. Okay.
Right.
We're going to take our shot at the line of scrimmage. Okay. And then we're going to play outside technique. That outside technique is going to tell Matthew Stafford right now, you can have the inside, but that robber guy that drops down in the in position, he's there to either take his head off or intercept the ball. Yeah. I just, it just blows me away, Marcus, because we know football. I know defensive football like the back of my hand. And I'm sitting and I'm watching and I'm saying, you have no remedy for this guy. I get it that he's in the slot and you can't really get up on the line and crowd him and jam him. But you got to try. You got to try. You got to try to break up the timing because it was very evident a 15-play, 80-something yard drive, and this guy just goes off and catches the game-winning touchdown. Unbelievable to me that they had no answer.
I remember how many years ago was it when the Patriots played the Rams, and I remember every time Marshall Faulk, Willie McGinnis would stop rushing if Marshall Faulk came his way, and he just obviously got to hit him to disrupting his timing and everything. Every time Marshall Faulk went a direction, they were there. They negated their normal responsibility to take care of Marshall Faulk. And you're right. You got to find some way to do that, whether you negate a pass rush to come off and get a little chip on a guy or force him to reroute himself or whatever it may do. I mean, you got the Robert that comes down that should be actually looking at, the quarterback's eyes, but he should be at that spot to see where everything's going. And you got to squeeze him. You can't give him an open. You can't get him width. You know what I mean? You got to squeeze it. You got to make it uncomfortable for him, for not only the quarterback to throw it, but the receiver to catch it as well. Seth, I don't know.
It's almost like they lulled him to sleep because he didn't give him many targets, in the first half. And then when they really needed him, they took advantage of him because things were happening so fast, there was no adjustment for him. That's why I'm saying pregame preparation. Okay, I got a package underneath of all of these papers that I got and this big old sheet of plays that I got that's like this wide. I got a package to stop Cooper Kupp, no matter what the circumstances are. Even if I got to play a boxing damn one, okay? That guy, under those circumstances, cannot beat me.
Yeah.
And I get it.
That's
He's
true.
really good. He's crafty. And even Matthew Stafford is crafty with his no-look passes, okay? But if you
Joe Montana used to do that. He was awesome at it, dude.
Well, hey, listen,
he'd throw the ball. He'd be looking directly down at the goalpost, and I'd be over in the on the side of him, and he would look at the goalpost and throw the ball to me, man. And so, I mean, if you can master that, and there's nobody that can actually stop you from getting open, absolutely, because most of what DBs do is follow the eyes, right? And if the eyes are looking down the middle of the field, and he throws it right. That's a wonderful skill to have, and reminds me of Joe a great deal. And Joe, hey, listen here, I know we're still talking about the Rams, but I got to tell you about Joe Burrow. I thought when you look at him, what the most beat up quarterback in the or what sack quarterback in the game this year?
Yeah.
But stays in there. I mean, remember he got sacked 9 times in the first playoff game. That's unheard of. I mean, your entire line should be fired. But he hangs in there. No, the thing that Seth, I had the luxury when I was when John Robinson was the consultant with LSU, and Coach O was coaching there. They asked me to speak to the team in the last game of the year with they played Texas A&M. And not only did I just speak to the team, I went to almost every single meeting, and I saw the way he interacted with his teammates, and it reminded me of Joe Montana, dude. Yeah. I mean, he has this Q rating everybody knows is up here, but when he's in the locker room, he's one of the boys. And you can see the relationship, and you can see how he's not bigger than them. He doesn't certainly put himself underneath them, but he is one of the guys, and you can see how they play for him and stuff. But it's also good to see a guy that has that kind of nerve time and time again, because we know at that position, hey, if you hit the quarterback enough, most of them, the majority of them, they'll be afraid to step up in the pocket and deliver the ball. Once you get them off their spot, and because guys like that, they don't get spooked from the edge. they get spooked up the middle, you know, from the Aaron Donalds that are guys that are in their face, that when you're throwing the ball, you know, that, you know, you may get your arm hit or the helmet or something like that. Those are the guys that, you know, that get you off your spot. But for him to get beat up as much as he did this entire year and is still hanging there, shows, you know, I mean, I think the quarterback position in the National Football League is in very, very good hands.
It's amazing that you say that, because, you know, as a defensive player, you can tell the skittish quarterbacks from the ones that just let them hang. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I played against some skittish ones. I'm pretty sure you played with some skittish ones.
No comment.
But that's almost an intangible, Marcus, that, you know, you either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
You know, and you could see it. You could absolutely see it in Joe Burrow.
Seth, you know, go ahead. Seth, you know, right? If you're standing next to the coach and you see a panic look in your coach's face, you know it's over. You know what I mean, right? So an offensive player, when you see a quarterback, you know, with that look, it is the worst feeling in the world, because, I mean, it's a helpless feeling. You just have to really just go out and, I'm going to play hard. I'm going to, you know, I'm going to play with some pride. I'm going to get everything I got, but you know you have no chance, right? But when you had a guy that, you know, has a steely look the entire time, even though he's getting beat up, and he still has this, you know, this confident look, like, don't worry, guys, we'll get him still. Dude, I mean, that elevates the entire team. It really does.
You know, there are some guys, you know, who try to fake it, but you can look in their eyes and you can see it. Okay, now, and I don't want to stray too far from, you know, Joe Burrow, but I want to talk about some of these other guys that are actually struggling. So you got Kyler Murray and everything that's going on with him, and him scrubbing all his social media and then making a statement, you know, yesterday. It's well documented and well known that he's just a little spoiled brat. Okay, I've heard it from, you know, various people, guys that, you know, that have been around him. You understand what I'm saying? That he's selfish and he's a little brat. So when you're playing the quarterback position, to your point, it's important for you to be smart, but it's also important for you to also be one of the guys. Okay. So
can I add something real quick before you go?
Yep.
I had that conversation with Warren. Warren said that he would go and hang out with the DB sometime, because he wanted to be a part of the team.
Right.
He would take the offensive lineman out. He would occasionally go out with the defensive line. So he did not separate himself from anybody, right? He wanted to, you know, his guys to know that he was there with him. He's one of the guys. Right. And so just to you know, add to what we were saying earlier.
Well, throw another quarterback in that deal. You know, Carson Wentz, drafted number 2 overall for the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, it went to hell in the handbasket last year. They wound up trading him to Cincy. Frank, you know, couldn't fix him. You know, and last season, the 4th game of the season, we're doing the post-game show on NBC, and I said the Eagles have a quarterback problem, and everybody like to lost their damn mind, because I could see it in his eyes, and I could see it in his posture, Marcus. Okay, that he had checked out psychologically and, you know, emotionally, and that something was off and something was wrong. And that year they were not going to be able to rescue him and get him back. Okay. So then they trade him off to Indianapolis, and he becomes the reason why that football team goes from an 11-win team and makes the playoff to a team that has the number 1 rusher in the NFL and don't make the playoffs. And now there's chatter. That, you know, in a couple of weeks, they're going to cut him. You know, so it's the same situation. You know, he never really endeared himself to the team when he had the team in the palm of his hands. Mm-hmm. And then when he got hurt, Nick Foles picked up the reins and took it over. And now Nick Foles was the guy. And now the locker room was divided. Half of the locker room was Nick Foles guys after winning the Super Bowl MVP, and half was Carson Wentz guys. The city was like that. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So you can't be the leader until you embrace and wrap your arms around the entire team and become one of the guys with the entire team. And that was his problem. And I'm not so sure that some of these guys are even capable of stepping into that role as a leader.
Yeah, not everybody can do it. Not everybody's built that way. And I can just go by Joe. Joe was just great, dude. I mean, Montana, I'm referring to. I mean, just everything about him. I remember him throwing a perfect pass to wide receiver Willie Davis, who dropped the ball. It was like, a 50-yard bomb or something like that, and hit him right in the hands, right? And he came back to the huddle, and Joe said, "Don't worry, my fault." What's going on? And you should have seen the expression on Willie's face. It put him at ease.
Yeah.
Do you understand? I mean, just that little simple gesture. Some guys are, capable of doing that, and some guys, they don't understand the power of, just being one of the guys and giving them the courage and word. And if somebody dropped the pass, I never saw Joe go, irate or he just like, "Don't worry, we'll get it next time." And so guys love to play for him. They'd fight to the end for him. You know what I mean? And we never, ever thought we'd ever lose a game if he was the quarterback. And we had, the ball in our possession the last series. We thought we could win every single time.
Marcus, I'll tell you a quick story, man. So we played the 49ers, in Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. And Joe Montana comes in, and, man, we are like beating him to a pulp, okay? Because I always thought he was a great quarterback.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, he got Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Brent Jones, Roger Craig, Tom Rathman. I'm like, he got one of the best, offensive lines. I'm like, dude got it all. I mean, it's easy. So they roll into the vet, man. And I mean, our defense is like we're damn near at our peak.
Right.
And we're just like, we're pulverizing them, man. We're up 21-0. And every time he drops back to throw the ball, he's just getting crushed, So I Buddy calls a blitz. I run in and I hit him, and the ball just goes straight up in the air and falls incomplete. And when I hit him, I could hear him go, "Oh!" And I mean, we had been demoralizing him all day long. And I'm like, dude, this game is over, man. Don't take this punishment. Go into the sidelines, man. So now, 9 minutes left in the game, Marcus. Okay. And Jeff Fisher and Buddy Ryan get into it on the sideline because Buddy's mentality was always, okay,
attack.
We're going to see them in the playoffs later on.
Okay.
So I'm going to send a message that this is the ass whooping that you took today, and you can expect it again next time we see you in the playoffs. Okay. So Jeff is calling the defenses, and Jeff is over there. He's got us in prevent with 9 minutes left to go in the game. Okay. Buddy comes down, changes series. He comes down. He was like, "Go after him." Okay. We go back out in the field. Jeff starts calling prevent again. Buddy walks over and rips his headset off and his belt. And it's like, "This is my damn defense. When I tell you to blitz, you blitz." Buddy blitzed 4 times in a row. They scored 4 times in a row in 9 minutes. Okay? 9 minutes, and won the game 28-21.
And you thought he was done.
I thought he was done, man. And you know what? After that game, I had a newfound respect for Joe Montana after that game. Because any other quarterback would have folded up like a Samsonite and called it a day. That dude,
he was
unreal.
Yeah, he was tougher too than people gave him credit for, because he did get hit. He got hit, probably a lot more often than people think he did, because obviously you mentioned the line that he had and the players surrounding him. But he was he was just great, and Burrow has those same qualities, man. And after remember, this was his first full year, right? He came off a knee injury and stuff. So one of the other things I was disappointed was that Mixon wasn't in the game. He should have been, as well as he was running the ball, he should be. And maybe they think 34 is a better receiver or something like that, but
yeah, he's a third down back.
Yeah, but you know what, man? You put your best players on the field, dude, in the most critical time. You don't. Yeah. See, that's when you start you got your, this unit, that unit, and this guy's the zebra package. No, put your best players on the field at all, especially when the game's on the line.
I agree 100%. I also believe that, that the Bengals got out coached.
Yeah, you said that
exponentially because, okay, so now that you got a problem, on the defensive line, because now what they've done is they've overloaded one side, they walk the backer up, and sometimes he's coming, sometimes he's not, and then you got Von Miller on the side away from the loaded side, screaming off the edge. Okay, so basically you got a 5-man front. Okay, and the entire second half, once they made that adjustment, now all of a sudden the Bengals offense became stagnant because they had no answer for it. Okay, one of the answers were they went 13 personnel. They went 3 tight ends and one back, and was running the ball 2 or 3 times extremely well. Okay, so now you make them switch all of that up, and now you can obviously go play action pass off of that with the one wide receiver in the game and a tight end, getting out off a play action pass, but they didn't utilize that.
Yeah.
But my other thing was, okay, you insist on getting 5 guys out in the route when you can't protect. Okay, so what's the alternative? Where's your adjustment for that? Bring an extra lineman in. If they want to overload on that side, bring another tackle in, put him at the tight end position. Now you can double Aaron Donald with the tackle and the guard, and the outside guy can pick up Little on the outside. Okay, and now you still got enough going on there to protect. Now, I'm not paid to do that. I'm paid to analyze the game and talk about what I see happening in the game. Okay, if I can see that and I can conjure up that in my own head, you got a press box full of coaches, because now you got about 30 coaches on every team. You got a press box full of coaches and coaches on the sideline. And nobody came up with the thought that, hey, maybe we just need to send 3 guys or 2 guys out in the route and go max protect it, keep our quarterback upright to give us a shot.
Apparently not. I mean, I guess the only thing you can look at is, inexperience as a staff, right? I mean.
Well, listen, Marcus, if that's the case, then these 30-something-year-old coaches don't need to be coaches in the NFL in those positions, okay? Because when you and I played, there was no stone unturned. There was a preparation for everything, okay?
Well, you and I played, we had coaches that have been in the game like 90 years and stuff. So we had maybe altogether maybe 200 or 300 years of experience on the sidelines, right? So and now they're getting younger and younger and stuff. And you're right, they don't have as much as experience. So
Marcus, something so simple. Teams come out with these multiple tight end sets. These coaches, they have no remedy for it. Okay, they leave. They go regular personnel. A lot of them played nickel against it, 2 backers. You got all these DBs on the field that don't want to tackle. Okay, we had over slide, where we took a cornerback out of the game and put an extra. We went extra backer. Now we were 3. We was a 4-3 scheme, but we had a package where we was basically a 4-4. So you had 3 guys off the ball and an outside linebacker to the two tight end side. Okay, where the hell are you running to? There are no gaps, especially if I all of a sudden go man to man across the board and walk my strong safety down in the box. Where you run into? I mean, all of these things, that are in my head, and I'm watching these guys. I'm watching the most important game of the year, and you have no adjustment for Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
You have no adjustment for an overslid line. You have no adjustment for that. I mean, give me a pen and give me a whiteboard. I could have drew something up, on the sideline that would have helped.
Well, I loved 4th and 1 and short and 3rd and short or whatever it may be. I always had a fullback in front of me. Now what they run is just so unsound now. They run a spread offense in a short yardage situation, and they're outnumbered in the box, and they still continue to run the ball with an unblocked person. That is just mind-boggling to me. I remember I was watching, I think the Colts when Peyton Manning was playing there. It was a playoff game against the Patriots, and I think it was Willie McGinnis just unblocked every single time. And you can see him there. You see him right there, unblocked. Everybody's, all the other guys are covered, and he's standing there like he's a safety off the edge, and they hand the ball off to the running back, and Willie's right there. I'm going, boy, that didn't make any sense.
So let me ask you this question, because I've heard this comment before from coaches, okay, modern day coaches. Oh, that's your guy. You got to make him miss.
Well, you know what? Listen here. If he's deeper, not at the line of scrimmage, I mean that's a difficult proposition. Now, if he's coming down in the box, let's say, right, if he comes down late and everybody's blocked and we know that he's in the hole, that gives us an opportunity because he's a few yards away. But when he's right at the line of scrimmage, and as soon as we get the ball, he's standing right there. That's kind of crazy. And he has a free run. We're not talking about anybody in front of him or anything. And you have 5 guys, but they have 6, and they still run the ball. Not away, not away from the guy. They run actually into it, which is like, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, it's like the 8-man front against the run. Okay, so you got to make up your mind. Okay, who are you going to leave unblocked? Normally, it's a defensive end.
Yeah.
And you run away from him.
If you run away from him,
yeah, you run away from him. Now you're man on with everybody else, and that guy, he's not going to come screaming down the line of scrimmage, because any kind of misdirection, is to the house.
Right. Okay?
Well, you get these coaches, they try to run the ball right up the middle, right into the teeth of the defense, and then they turn around and say, "Oh, the running game won't work. We need to get a shotgun, and throw the ball."
Well, some of those plays work, Seth, that they got Lamar Jackson at quarterback, right, where that defense end won't go down. But if you got Peyton Manning, you know darn well he's not gonna fake the handoff and run a bootleg. No. So yeah, in that sense, that doesn't make any sense either.
Oh man, it's just sometimes, as much as I love the National Football League and professional football, sometimes it's extremely painful for me to watch games, because I'm sitting there and I'm looking, and I know what I'm looking at, and it's tough on Kendra too, because she loves to watch the game, and I got the remote, and I'm running it back, and I'm breaking it down and telling them what was wrong and how that happened, and it's like it's like all the genius in football now, is afforded to the offensive side of the ball, and to me, I look at the game from a different perspective. Now, defensive players are so fundamentally unsound that you can almost game plan their unsoundness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, so that corner route that Cooper Kupp caught his first touchdown on, Eli Apple was lined up outside, and you had a safety inside. And Cooper Kupp released, he had a nasty split. He released inside, like he was going to block, and then went to the corner. And Chris Collinsworth was just going on and on and on about how he sold the run block. And I stopped it, and I rewound it back. And you could see Eli Apple, what he was doing. And I said, Kendra, look at his head. Look at his eyes. Where is it? I said, his eyes are in the backfield. He's looking at the quarterback. He's looking at the running back. And those are the two greatest liars on the offensive side of the ball. With all the misdirection and things that they do, they're the greatest liars in the world. Now, if you're trying to cover, the number one wide receiver in the National Football League this year, shouldn't your eyes be on him?
Yeah.
Instead of in the backfield? I mean, that kind of stuff just drives me crazy, man. And then they want to talk about how genius the offense is. No, you got a dummy out there who's looking at the wrong thing.
Hey, calm down, Seth. Calm down.
It's unreal.
I know it gets frustrating, right?
All right, man. So we got about 8-9 minutes left, and I can't let you go without us, chopping it up about the black coaches and black GMs, or the lack thereof. We had 9 openings this year, and we got 1.5 African American coaches hired.
You got to ask yourself: is the Rooney Rule just optics?
Well, I was going to say, in my opinion, the fact that you need a Rooney Rule, within itself is problematic. That's already saying that. And you know what? I've been talking about this ever since the Brian Flores thing started. And I know sometimes my viewers might not like some of the content and some of the things that I say, but just the fact that, in the 21st century, we're still talking about this in 2022.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to let it go, because we have to continue to talk about it in order to bring some type of change, because the owners just want to go on status quo. They're okay with things being the way that they are. It's evident, because they pretty much just thumb their nose at all the African-American coaches in the NFL. They elevated Lovie Smith. Okay. And then they hired this guy, Mike McDaniels, who says he's half black, but you can't, looking at him, you can't tell, so 9 positions, and only, you only hired 1 with all the backlash and everything that was going on. They pretty much just said they gave African-American coaches the finger and pretty much said, we're going to do things the way we want to do it. And to me, it's all about the owners. It has nothing to do. I'm not talking about coaches. I'm not talking about, executive teams. Every hire comes down to the owner saying, that's my guy. That's who I want. When the vetting process is done, he's got the last say. Okay. So this is an owner issue more than anything else, Marcus.
You said it. The fact that we even have the rule, the fact that the rule is even necessary, is problematic. I still wish we would be on this. We just hire, great coaches, and color would not be an issue, but it certainly has become one, and it's the elephant in the living room, and everybody recognizes it. And the league, as much as they talk about diversity and so forth, it's at least in the coaching and GM and presidents and those things, it's just words. It's just words. Unfortunately, it's really what it is. And you're right, the onus does belong to the owners, because they make the calls.
The funny thing is, I had, you might not know Ray Didinger. Ray Didinger has been a writer in Philadelphia for well over 50 years. He does the pre and post game with me on NBC, in Philly every year. And he's a historian, I mean, I sit next to the guy. He doesn't have a computer. He doesn't even have a cell phone, Marcus. I mean, he tracks the game as the game is going on. When we're watching the game, he writes down every down and distance and every play. And if I ask him, what game was that, that I intercepted and ran it back against, he knows exactly what the game was, who the quarterback was, the whole scenario.
Photographic memory, yeah.
Yeah. So I had him on. I had him on last week, and this is the point that he made, and I thought it was awesome. He said, this has been a problem for a long time. He says, I've been around the NFL, for well over 50 years. He said, people don't realize it wasn't until, the 50s that, black people were allowed to even play in the NFL. He said, and because black players began to start playing in the NFL became better. He said, for a long time after that, a black player couldn't play quarterback
or linebacker or middle linebacker. Then there's, like Willie Lanier obviously changed that. You know what I mean? Right. So I understand what you're saying.
So he said, when that changed, and you look at the quarterback position now and all the black quarterbacks that are, from Doug Williams to, and there's some guys historically, that I'm probably leaving out right now that came before Doug, and Randall and all of those guys.
Yeah.
He said after that, the NFL became a better league. He said, when we can have some kind of parity and more black coaches have an opportunity to coach, he says, I believe that we'll have a better league. And I thought that was pretty damn profound, Marcus.
Yeah, it's a pretty big statement right there. It makes sense. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, my brother, I'm gonna let you run, man. I know your son's probably ready for bed. You got to go walk the dog, and you got to run the vacuum cleaner.
Yeah,
I'm just messing with you.
I'm domesticated. I do my own stuff, man. I'm not one of those guys, man, that don't do those things, dude. I take care of my crib.
It's all good, man. It's always a joy to have you on the show and chat. I know that you don't keep up with everything, but you always have such great insight. Even when I just throw you a little alley-oop and you go with it. So it's awesome to always talk to you, man.
Man, pleasure. And I hope you can make my event. I know it's we got plenty of months ahead, but I have the greatest respect for you. I love you, so I'm always here for you, brother.
All right, my man. I
appreciate it.
You got it, fam. I said hello, and I'll chat with you soon, brother.
Same to yours. Talk to you later.
All right, man. Bye. You got it. Okay. So as we wrap the show, we had a signed autographed jersey giveaway, and unfortunately, no one got the winner and the score correct. So what we're gonna do is we're going to extend the extra week, and we're going to do the giveaway next week. You guys know the routine. I'll be looking for you over on Twitter, on Instagram. Tag 2 or more friends, and subscribe. I thank you guys, for supporting the show this year. Subscribe over on YouTube to the show, and we'll give away a signed Seth Joyner jersey, Philadelphia Eagle jersey, next week. Another little announcement for you guys. It's been a tedious year, long year. I've been pumping out shows nonstop for about a year and a half, and I haven't taken a break. With the season wrapping up and the beginning of the new fiscal year not starting until March 16th, after next week's show, I'm going to take a little hiatus until the free agency period opens back up, and then we will start the show back up again. You guys will see the promos, and I'll be back with you guys through the free agent period, rolling into the combine and the draft, and I have some guests to come on and talk about that. We'll have some TalkToEms, where you guys can tell me about the players you think the Eagles should, be going after, deals that they should make, guys that should be gone, so on and so forth. Okay. So you guys, as always, take care of each other and be good to each other. But most importantly, make sure you love each other. I thank Marcus Allen for, being my guest. Thank my producer behind the scenes, Zach James, for a great job as always. And I will see you guys back here next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we'll do it one more week, and then we'll take a little break and wait for the new year to jump off the free agency period to jump off. All right. You guys take care of each other and be cool. See you next week, same place, same time. Peace.